Jedi News Interview. Mark Newbold interviews Rick McCallum.
Obviously, you've become synonymous with the Star Wars series, overseeing the prequels and taking them from concept to the screen. Looking back over the 2 years since the film's finished on the big screen, how proud are you of the sequels, the prequels rather, and can you believe the time's gone so fast?
No, it's been actually weird because it was really, it was about 13 years altogether.
Yeah.
All three, when you start from the time we started prep and everything else until the time we actually finished the final, press and everything else. The kind of summer after. I mean, it was probably by September of 2005 is when it was all over for us.
Yeah.
It's 13 years. It's long. It goes fast, but it was such a fantastic ride and a great experience. And it's hard to. I have such fond memories, but I don't have a lot of memories of it because I always move forward.
Yeah.
I don't think too much about the past, but it was great. Absolutely fantastic, wonderful, incredible moment. How proud am I? I love them. There's nothing much I can say. I know that there's the detractors, but I know the impact that it had, especially on young kids. It's an amazing, amazing thing, especially when you worked a lot before and you made films that no one wants to see. It's a nice change.
Yeah. Well, obviously, talking about your previous work, you worked with Dennis Potter.
Yeah.
Notably, obviously, on Black Eyes and Singing Detective. What was he like to collaborate with? Because he was a bit of a character, wasn't he?
Well, I was with him for 10 years. Because we did Pennies from Heaven.
All right.
Track 29, Dream Child. A lot of films we did, and no, he was a seriously real character, but one of the really great, unbelievable writers I've ever met in my life, and just such an extraordinary human being. He was the most demanding of any person I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
But just a phenomenal character.
So, obviously, you're closely linked to him, to Potter, and obviously to George Lucas as well. Are there any similarities between the two men in the way that they work?
None whatsoever, as people know.
No.
But in terms of kind of obsession, and in terms of a vision, I've also had a really good relationship with a writer named David Hare that I did 3 films with also. I personally much prefer writing with a writer. Working with a writer-director. Then there's no kind of misunderstanding whatsoever what the film is going to be about.
Yeah.
And it's and especially when you have somebody like David Hare or Dennis Potter or somebody like George. I've been blessed. Truly blessed.
You enjoy that collaborative effort. You seem to, obviously you've worked with Hare for a while and with Potter for a long time and with George for a long time, so you enjoy that collaborative spirit.
Yeah, I do, and I think the great thing is I don't have any misunderstandings of what a producer's job is. For me, a job, if you're a producer, your job is primarily to enable a writer-director, in my case, the people I prefer to work with, to be able to fulfill whatever it is in their mind's eye of what they see the film as, and make sure that they have all the talent and the schedule and the money and everything else.
Yeah.
To me, that's the creative part about being a producer. I think really when you get down to it, television is a producer's medium, or it's really a writer's medium right now, but it used to be a producer's medium.
Yeah.
Directing film is a director's medium, and the thing is that's our job. Our job is to make sure that a director can achieve everything that he's ever yearned for and dreamed for, based on certain parameters, money and schedule and everything else. But it's when it works, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I did a bit of research, obviously, for these questions, and I had no idea that your stepfather was Michael York.
Yes.
So what's it like watching his stepdad play Basil Exposition in Austin Powers on the big screen?
Excuse me?
What's it like watching Michael play Basil Exposition in the Austin Powers movies?
It's a hoot. I think he did a great job. It's such a send-up of what you think Michael is.
Yeah.
as a person, as an actor. No, I thought he did a great job.
Yeah. No, I just had to ask you that because I didn't know that. It was interesting to find that out. Obviously, back in the early 90s, he started working on Young Indiana Jones.
Yes.
When that project was started, was it obvious that from a technical point of view that it was like a test bed to see where the effects could go from a budget point of view and from a technology point of view, not just to tell the stories or to help tell the stories, but possibly with a view to bringing the Star Wars movies back?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it was always a blueprint for, how were we going to shoot in a whole bunch of different countries, because most people don't realize this, even on the prequels, the last one I think we shot in 7 countries.
Yeah.
And we shoot them very quickly, never more than 55 days each. So, that's our principal photography period. That's our limit. George will let us do whatever we need to do, but it's got to be done in 55 days. So, because we're financing the films and financing not only just the production, but the marketing and distribution of the film. So, it's a really big deal for us to, we're one company that makes a film every 3 years, and we can't afford to make a mistake, and we have to make them in the most cost-efficient way that we possibly can.
Yeah.
To stay independent and stay out of the establishment and stay out of the system of Hollywood. So, you learn very quickly, you have to kind of separate your ego of what the things that you'd like to do and what you can do, and you don't want to limit anybody. The last thing I want to do is ever limit George in terms of what he sees and what he writes and what he wants to achieve. But you have to figure out a way to do it in a way that most people don't spend that effort and time, because it is really life or death for us, for the company.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people misconstrue the fact that Lucasfilm, for example, it's an independent film company, really, isn't it? So
it is. I mean, we're a film company with about 1,800 people, but there's only 5 of us in the film division of the company.
Yeah.
The rest is, it's ILM, which is a client-based company, Skywalker Sound, which is a client-based company, and those 2 companies are in motion and in existence to push the limits of sound and visual effects so that they'll be ready when we're ready to make a film.
Yeah. And
we want other people to pay for that, to keep them going and living and, making a life and having an incredible thing. But we also, I think we're still 50 or 60% of the total film effects business worldwide.
Yeah.
Company. And,
wow.
Their job is to do the biggest and best films that they possibly can and push the elements of digital technology as far as they can go, so that when we're ready with our next script, they will have, exhausted all the possibilities in their own imaginations to be there ready for us and know a way to be able to solve the problems that we're gonna give them.
So you guys must have been thrilled with the Oscar.
Excuse me?
You guys must have been thrilled with the Oscar for Pirates of the Caribbean then. Long time overdue.
16th or 17th one. So yes, no, I mean, I am, because it's the first time we've won in like 10 years, because, we dominated it for so long.
Oh, yeah.
And then there were so many other different companies coming out and other great films being made and everything else. But it's always nice to know that almost anywhere you go, in any place, I go in the world, wherever there's an effects company, I can go and there's somebody from ILM there.
Yeah.
But, and everybody uses what everybody else is doing. So, if we create some kind of thing, then it's used by somebody else, and then they push it to the next level, and then we have to take it and push it to the next level. Because all we're all trying to do is get to a place. We're kind of in this transition period, the Paleolithic period of film effects. We're just trying to get to a place where we can create total, absolute photorealism.
Yeah.
That takes an enormous amount of manpower, software, and hardware to do that. And we're still not there. These are just the first tentative steps, but in the next 5, 6, 7 years, nothing will be impossible, and it will be done at a level that is commensurate with any kind of reality that anybody wants to achieve on any film.
So there's a big step coming up. You think that's not that far away?
No, I really don't. I think it's really just a question of there's a finite amount of talent right now, but there's every year there's just hundreds of thousands of kids worldwide who are into film effects and sound and engineering, who are pushing technology at a level, because film is so backward right now.
Yeah.
So we're so far behind of where we should be in relationship to the have on popular culture and the money that we generate and the, just even the impact that we have worldwide, we should be, 30 years ahead of where we are right now.
Yeah.
And especially the whole experience of going to the cinema has to change.
Yes.
We have a very conservative business. Not us personally. I mean, the film business is very conservative. Always about 5 or 10 years behind what consumers really want or understand. Digitally, we're so far behind. It's just.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, when episode 1 came out, George was talking about digital projection and cinemas picking up on that and pushing it further, and it never seemed to quite happen, did it?
It's happening now, and nothing will stop it. But in 3 or 4 years will be the tipping point, and then it'll be 10 years. But the problem is the whole, collective experience of going to the movies is changing so dramatically for young kids that, with gas prices the way they are, the cost of what everything is, the cost of it just going to a movie, and basically that you can wait 6 or 8 weeks and go to Walmart and buy the film and own it and have all the extras, and you can share with your friends. And once the downloading starts, once that becomes a real reality, the film business is in serious, deep trouble.
Yeah.
Because they haven't provided the minimal decent experience, plus the whole atmosphere and experience and adventure of going to a cinema, on a weekend has changed for most kids now. It just isn't the same thing. The real experience is going to your best friend's house when their parents leave and watching a film, with 10 or 15 of your friends, watching on a flat screen, plasma screen, where the sound and picture quality are 100% better than they can get in any local cinema.
Yeah.
And then you can smoke pot, you can drink, you can freebase, you can do whatever you want to, be with your girlfriend. That's the new collective experience, sadly.
So the whole thing of going to the popcorn and drive-ins and
but the trouble is the popcorn costs $7
more than the film.
Or, and if you're going to school and you don't have much money and your parents are broke and the thing, it doesn't work. You don't get the value of what you pay for anymore.
True. Well, it's a good point. I mean, I live in Birmingham in England, and I'm going to see 300 tomorrow night.
Good movie.
Really looking forward to it. But I know that the ticket will cost me £6, and the popcorn, as you say, will probably cost another £5, and the travel will cost £5. I'll be able to buy it on DVD in 4 months' time for less than that. So
I know, and plus you'll be able to download it immediately.
Yeah. And
the quality will be better than in any cinema that you can see it in. And you'll be able to watch it with all your friends. Not that I'm suggesting that is the way, but what I am suggesting is that unless the film business gets its shit together and gets its act together quickly,
that's the reality.
They're going to face exactly what happened in the music industry.
Yeah.
And even though the incomes are more than they were last year, that's because the price of the ticket has gone up. It's not about admissions. And, we should be, the average American sees 7 films a year. That should be 25 films.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's part of our heritage, and we're losing it.
More so in the States than in the UK. I mean, admissions seem to have been picking up over here a little bit, but nothing like it should. I totally agree.
So you got a real dilemma going on. So, yes, to get back to the original question, honestly, it was that was what indie was about. How do we make it in a way that would allow us to keep a group of people on for a long period of time and make them still interested. And luckily, we've been able to keep that same group of people for, 15, 17 years. So it's been a real fantastic experience.
That's brilliant. Do you have, this is going to sound like a strange question, do you have any creative input into the films yourself? As a producer, a creative input?
It totally depends on what film.
Yeah.
On Young Indiana Jones, absolutely. On Radioland, on everything that I've done up until Star Wars. But Star Wars is really George's thing.
Yeah.
It's very hard to, we obviously have disagreements, we have arguments, we have discussions, but in the end of the day, it really is his thing. And our contribution comes into ways of solving problems for him.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. In the end of the day, I wish I could say it was more, but it isn't. And every project is always different, and every director is always different. So it just depends. But Star Wars is his unique creature.
Yeah. So it's hard to, where would you have not a conflict, but where would you have a discussion? Is it like a tonality thing on the way it's played, or would it be a design aspect, or where would you not see eye to eye?
Clearly it's not a design thing. It's more to do with casting or, issues that, seem incomprehensible, maybe to me or other people. It's stuff like that. That's one of the weird things that people don't understand or find it difficult to understand is it's about the quality of your argument, because in the end of the day, there's only one person who's right. It's not the director. It's not anybody. It's the audience. They tell you immediately if you're right or wrong. You can make a really bad movie, and sometimes it really, really works. Because somewhere deep in there was some kind of truth for a lot of people, and you can make a really great movie, and it just doesn't work for people.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Hit and miss.
But somewhere is usually about some kind of truth for someone.
Okay, with the prequels.
Yes.
Being as immersed in making the prequels as you were, did you ever wake up one morning and just think, I just want to hire a studio somewhere and put Judi Dench and Anthony Hopkins in a room and just film a one-camera piece?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's one of our plans. We definitely are planning to go back to both of our roots. I mean, making really deeply, probably uncommercial films. That's the one thing we've earned the right to be able to do in George. that definitely is coming down the pike. Once we get through with Red Tails, which is our next film, and really set up the Star Wars TV series, that's the plan, is to go back to we're in a situation where we can probably make 10 or 15 very highly unsuccessful films, and it doesn't matter whether anybody sees them or not. Yeah.
Just to experiment, just to do something totally different.
Just to do something completely and utterly different.
That's going to be interesting to see. I'm curious to see what comes out of that.
Absolutely. That's the thing. God has a funny way of changing your plans.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows what will happen?
Well, we're all waiting here to see it, so... you had a hand in different aspects of the production, so given the large group of people that were all together during Young Indy and then onto the prequels, you must feel like an uncle, almost. Was there a pleasure in building up that team and consequently knowing that you did such a good job?
Well, look, I mean, it's one of those things, it took a long time during Young Indy. It took about a year before we kind of all settled down. And you got to imagine, it was a really unique period in English film at that point. For the first time, a pound really it was during the 80s. You could go off and make a film, because I had a wonderful relationship with a director named Nick Rogue, who you may or may not know. But if you made a film with Nick, you always knew there was going to be 2 or 3 million people around the world that were going to see it. If they all paid $5, that means you'd gross $15 million. You only get $7.5 million of that. Then there's the marketing, which takes you down. So if you could make a film for $2 or $3 million with Nick, you could break even. Nobody would get hurt. The investors wouldn't get hurt. You might make a little money if it broke out a little bit.
Yeah.
But if it didn't matter, because you at least had done something reasonable, something good, something people would like, respect, and then you get to make your next movie. But by 1990, that all changed. The 80s were a golden period in a strange way.
Yeah.
It was the end of television as we know it in England. Or at least it was definitely the end for the BBC, and especially its drama department. And a lot of people hit out into the world and hits. You got to remember, like, the most successful English film in terms of box office gross in the United States was Mona Lisa. I think it did like $6 or $7 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Enchanted April, which was made for the BBC, and that was until like 1990, was like the highest grossing film in the United States up to that time, $12 million.
Crazy.
And then the films that did work made with English talent were all financed by American pictures, like American companies.
Yeah.
So there was this weird dichotomy. But 1990 was kind of the turning point. And, I started off with a really young group of people, and it took a while to get that perfect group that is totally interdependent on each other and worked well together. But the first year on Young Indy alone, we shot for 52 weeks nonstop, 6 days a week. And, you know, I would say by the 9th month, we really had the group that stayed, costume designer and the same production designer. And their teams, in terms of props, set decoration, have changed, but very, very small changes. I mean, basically the whole group of about 28 people have remained together pretty much since then.
Yeah. And you see that relationship carrying on, hopefully?
Absolutely, but everybody's really, you know, everybody's pretty, you know, they're all famous and well-to-do and saying, I don't know if I can afford them anymore.